Welcome to the Europe region.
The Europe region includes the European countries.
We will show 6 cities winners and with special mentions for the Access City Award by the European Commission in 2022 at 6 countries: Finland, Poland, Belgium, Luxembourg, Italy, and Spain. This gives an overview from North to South Europe of innovative solutions and improvements on accessible transport, accessibility transport plans, entertainment and tourism, built environment, accessible transport on historic centers, accessible information reaching the digital area, and public services in time of pandemic. We will start with Luxembourg, the capital city at the country of Luxembourg. This city won the first prize of the Access City Award in 2022 for its process of implementing innovative solutions to improve accessibility year after year.
These solutions include working groups, participatory committees of the city, discussion forums, and collaboration on the research for innovative solutions. For example, a blind person walking to the bus stop guided by tactile warning surface indicators through sidewalks towards pedestrian crossing points, where he pushes a button to ask to cross the road, and he does when he listens the pedestrian audible signal. The surface indicators leads him to the waiting zone at the bus stop and to the boarding point.
Built upon a rock, the city of Luxembourg's distinctive terrain and narrow streets make it a historical and unique place to live. However, its picturesque terrain and location have made accessibility a challenge. Thanks to the city's design for all and participatory approach, the overall accessibility has gone from strength to strength. Low-floor buses equipped with ramps are present across the city, as well as visual and audio announcements on buses and at bus stops. The rail service of Luxembourg is accessible to everyone and free to use since March 2020. Train stations throughout the city offer accessible toilets, accessible parking spaces, and have signage using pictograms. Many displays have a text-to-speech function. To ensure the design for all approach is met, the city regularly consults its citizens, and particularly those with disabilities, through participatory committees, reflection days, and awareness-raising weeks.
We will continue with Leuven city, in the Flemish region of Belgium.
Leuven, a historical city in Belgium, faces the challenge of combining its unique character with the needs of a modern, accessible city. To tackle this, the city has involved citizens, institutions, organizations, and companies in its policies to improve accessibility in an innovative way. At a policy level, Leuven takes into consideration the diversity of disabilities, including the challenges faced by older people and barriers faced by parents with prams. When implanting policy, Leuven imposes an accessibility level on itself that is higher than what is legally required. The city's Accessibility Advisory Board, established in 2008, including architects, service providers, and event organizers, plays a key role and provides a practical approach to accessibility. For example, in the construction of buildings, Leuven considers door widths, gradients, and turning circles at an early stage. It also considers the acoustics and colors of the finished building. The city has also undertaken to survey all its footpaths, including in parks and forest areas, to tackle those more difficult paths to access. Leuven further focuses on the accessibility of information, both online and written. In addition to its already accessible information boards and websites, the city is currently consulting with the University of Leuven to make information about their public spaces available online. Acknowledging that there is still work to do to improve accessibility, the city has created an online notification center alerting users to potential accessibility problems at certain public spaces.
We will now present the city of Helsinki at the country of Finland.
Helsinki, Finland's capital city, is by far the most populous urban area in the country and the centre for the country's politics, education, finance, culture and research. Approved in 2005, the city's accessibility plan commits its offices and institutions to developing accessible public facilities and services. Several actions have already been implemented. All trams and trains in Helsinki are accessible. All metro stations have at least one lift with warning markings along the edge of platforms, and new accessible tram stops have been built with older stops renovated to meet accessibility standards. Working with an advisory board, the aim is to make Helsinki fully accessible through the construction and renovation of the city's public spaces, buildings, and public transport. The objective is to make them safe and accessible for all, including those with physical disabilities, learning disabilities, and neurodiversity, as well as for those persons with disabilities who are older people or children and families.
We will continue with Florence, the capital city of the Tuscany region in Italy.
Firenze is without a doubt one of the most popular tourist destinations in Europe, with its narrow streets and ancient Renaissance buildings. However, this great culture heritage also creates challenges with regard to accessibility. The massive presence of cultural heritage buildings makes accessibility interventions essential, but they are also tough to implement at the same time. To this end, Firenze launched a plan to improve the accessibility of its buildings, public spaces and infrastructure across the city. Buses and trams, as well as stations in old narrow streets, are now accessible, making the historical centre accessible to all and helping persons with disabilities get around easily. All taxis are now able to transport wheelchairs, and across the city, parking spaces for persons with disabilities have been built. As a result of this plan, Firenze now has the highest number of parking spaces for persons with disabilities in Italy, and renovations were carried out to enhance equal access to 29 public facilities such as schools, sports centres, museums and libraries. On top of this, tours and visits to the main touristic and cultural hotspots are now tailored to include sign language, virtual tours and multi-sensory visits.
Coming up, Barcelona, at the autonomous community of Catalonia in Spain.
Barcelona, Spain's second largest city, is well known for its art and architecture and attracts millions of visitors every year. The city has implemented a strong accessibility plan which began with a detailed analysis of the accessibility of its public spaces, facilities and services. Based on the results, the city then implemented changes across the city. The city monitors the situation and reports that 92% of the metro stations now have a lift between the platform and the street. The entire metro network now has tactile maps which lead passengers to ticket machines with audio instructions, accessible turnstiles and platforms. By 2024, Barcelona aims for all its stations to be accessible for wheelchair users. Bathing support systems are now in place at 4 of its beaches. Screen readers, hearing loops and accessible documents such as audiobooks, easy to read and Braille are now present at most public facilities and services such as information points, health services, theatres and festivals. Public libraries are now equipped with rooms with adapted material for persons with disabilities, and tactile models, accessible maps and adapted guided visits are available at most museums.
At last but not least is Poznan City, perceived as the historical capital of the Greater Poland.
Poznan, the 5th most populated city in Poland, has worked hard in recent years to make itself a more inclusive place for everyone. In particular, the city has shown a strong commitment to improving its public services during the course of the recent global pandemic. Poznan specifically targeted those in high-risk groups and launched several strong initiatives to support them during this difficult time. A service was set up for persons with disabilities and older people, where volunteers will go shopping for food and hygiene products, as well as medicines, and deliver these safely to their doors. A telephone helpline was also set up that older people living alone could call to simply talk to a municipal volunteer. This helpline ensures those in isolation are maintaining social contact and their overall health and condition are being monitored. The city also launched a digital advice service aimed at teaching older people how to use technology. This service allowed them to keep in touch with loved ones and to use certain online services. ICT consultants explained how to send emails, download photographs, visit websites, and how to install applications on their devices. Information on the pandemic was provided daily in sign language.
The cities that were shown in this video are samples of what has been done about accessible transportation in Europe. Every year, cities from all European countries apply for the Access City Award, showing the improvements on accessibility and also demonstrating the important and growing topic in Europe.
Source: materials shown in this video are a compilation of videos found at the European Commission website of the European Union. Disclaimer: the compilation is in its original format, including the sign language interpreter, and has not been modified. It is not a statement or opinion of the TRANSED Conference 2022. Complete videos can be found at the European Commission Audiovisual Service website. Thank you for selecting the materials of this video. Keith Mitchell, Peter Cousin, Daniela Briseño.